Hello everybody and welcome back to Adventures in XNA. This is part 4. I am Aardaerimus, and in this segment we will be creating a class to help manage our input methods, whether it be keyboard or mouse or any other devices you wish to use for your game. For this particular segment I'll be focusing only on keyboard inputs, so let's go ahead and get started with that. I'll be picking up where I left off in part 3, and so if you don't have that source code you might want to go back and review those videos or download it from a link I will provide at the bottom of the videos. Let's go ahead and start by going to our Solution Explorer on the right, and we will right click on our Globals folder, and we're going to add a new class. Let's name that class Input and click Add. So we start out with a blank class here. Now as you can see down below, we may have some errors here, and that's because we are going to be overriding the default input class. As you'll see down here, we're using for our debug screen the keyboard get state is key down. We're going to sort of simplify that in our input class so we won't have to call quite such a long string. Let's see here. First thing we'll do is add a shared current key state as keyboard state. Next up, we're going to say shared last key state, so we can monitor what the last state of our key was, whether it was released or if it's still down. We'll say as keyboard state. Alright. Now we're going to create a public shared sub update. And we're going to set our last key state equals current key state, and then we'll set our current key state equals keyboard dot get state. Simple enough. Next up, we are going to create a public shared function, and we will call this key down. Then we'll say key as keys, and that will be a Boolean function. And all we're going to do here is just say return current key state dot is key down, and we will pass that key parameter. So it's going to return the present key state for the key that is down. And finally, we'll say public shared function key pressed, and then we will also pass the key as a parameter. Let's type keys. This will also be a Boolean. Alright. Now we're just going to say if the current key state dot is key down key and last key state dot is key up, also the key, then return true and if. Otherwise we'll just return false. So if we look at these, you can see what we're doing is differentiating between a key down event, meaning that the key is being held down constantly, For example, when you're moving your character, you generally hold your key down. And this function will return true if and only if the key has been in a down state and then the is key up event has been raised. So the moment you take your finger off that key, then it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. So you won't get a false positive on here if you're just holding the key down. Not until you actually remove that, and then it becomes a key pressed event. Hope that makes sense. Next step, what we need to do is go back to our debug screen. If you don't already have that open, what you can do is go to your screen manager in the Solution Explorer and double click your debug class. And in here what we're going to do is tidy this up. We no longer need all this extra code because we're managing these in a global input class. So really all we have to do is say, well, let's just, most of this can go. So what we're just going to say is input dot key pressed, and we want to monitor the F1 key to bring up the debug screen. And then we can go ahead and remove this key down variable because we no longer have to track it through the screen. Well, same with this. And get rid of all that extra code. So as you can see, we've already refined our code quite a bit just by adding that one class there. The last thing that we need to do is make sure that the game is actually sending updates to our input class. Otherwise, they, it won't be recognized. We have to actually fire this update sub that we created to to reset and check the current key states. So we will do that in our game 1 class. Back to the foundation of our game. Again, you can find that in your Solution Explorer. All right, let's go ahead and go down to our games update sub, and here we will process our input updates. So we'll just say input update, and to do this is very simple. We're just going to call the update sub from our input class. And just like that. Alright, so if we did this correctly, we should be able to run our game window here, and we should be able to press the F1 key and our debug screen will pop up. So our key press event is working successfully, and you'll notice that it stops when you hold the key down. It doesn't just sit there and flash on and off because it's waiting for an actual key up event for our last key state. So it's actually successfully detecting the key press event. Alright, so let's close that out. Now that we've set that up successfully, we can go on and create fun things like menus and screens like that. So let's see, I think next up we'll actually create our title screen, and we'll probably be getting rid of our test screen because we no longer need that. We'll also have to tidy up our game class. And down at the base here, if you remember from the earlier tutorials, we're doing a lot of test drawings here. This stuff should not be drawing in this part of the sub. Anything that is drawn to the game at this point should be handled through our screen manager. So we'll go ahead and take care of that in the next segment. I will catch you then. Bye-bye.